Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to our Acolyte predictions and speculation. Yes, this is a predictions and speculations video. We're going to be talking about episode 5 of The Acolyte, which is coming out in this coming week. The first episode of The Acolyte that we don't know anything about it. We don't know runtime. All we know is that it is directed by Alex Garcia Lopez, who just directed the 4th episode. So that's all we have to go on for our predictions here. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more, and comment your predictions down below. We'll get back to our thoughts on your predictions. Make sure to join us live every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, to discuss The Acolyte. We allow you guys to ask your questions where we will answer them live. So make sure to join us on those streams every single Tuesday night. Okay, now to get into our predictions. Like I said earlier, Sanak, Alex Garcia Lopez, same director who had directed episode 4. This would be absolutely insane if they don't pick up on that very sudden cliffhanger that they leave in episode 4. It is basically really just feels like they cut an episode in half to me personally. There's nothing that wrapped up in last episode, right? Like this is the definition of a cliffhanger. So Alex Garcia Lopez tackling it. What do you think is going to happen in the 5th episode?
I think no matter what, this episode is going to start off with the dueling. You don't bring in this darksider, the Sith, and have honestly a pretty iconic entrance. It is unnatural, it's spooky, it's creepy to then just cut away and then be like, here's a flashback or deal with stuff on Coruscant. Would not like that. I want us to be back on Khofar immediately. Soul getting up or these Jedi that are spread out, make this be a haunting. Like this should be like something that you'd see in October, a Halloween esque film where you don't know exactly why this guy is doing any of this, who he is, what he's saying. I want them to add a little camp to the character. They've already got some physical elements, but I want them to like really play around with the specter of this character, of this darksider. And I want it to be brutal. Honestly, this show could really use the elevation of like serious stakes. Everything so far has been more so setting up the stage for this mystery of like what really happened on Brenda. That's ultimately what we're going to find out. But now we need to understand like why is it so important to come out here to personally chop down all these Jedi, to personally prevent Mae from surrendering, sudden turn or not. And yeah, I'm pretty confident that we're gonna be focused on that. I expect, based on some of the shots that we've gotten released, Jecki is gonna have a pretty solid, iconic fight. I know there's a shot of her where she's got 2 green lightsabers. She obviously doesn't have 2 of her own; she just has 1. So I'm pretty sure one of those red shirt Jedi, kind of playing a Star Trek term here, is gonna die, and she's gonna grab that and have almost her little Anakin-esque Attack of the Clones fight. Before anyone says like, "Oh man, like there's no way Jecki can do that," well, Anakin didn't do it well either, so I don't think there's much of an argument about Jarkai being a strength of most Jedi's. It's just gonna be cool to see what she can do before she's possibly hunted down and killed to her death. I really do think she's gonna die. I know Headland has talked about her a little bit as like an Ahsoka-like character, but I don't want her to survive like Ahsoka. If she's gonna die and she's gonna survive through the season, she has to die sometime through the second season. She can't be someone who's here long enough. Even if I want to know way more about her, she's not in a good position. We haven't really seen anything from Yorde either from the trailers, other than kind of him on the ground and being hunted down, like just one on one, cornered off. Not much of a background for him. I'm pretty confident he'll die. I think he's got enough of like a character arc, enough of like the moments that make him iconic, some quips and everything here, a little bit more of the stuck up nature of his character and still the good meaning behind it. We've seen that a lot in episode 4. He definitely feels like he's going to be knocked out. The rest I don't expect to survive these red shirt Jedi. We know Soul is. Like, we've seen Soul questioning, like, who are you? What are you? I'm confident, because we also see him in a sort of ship chase, that he's going to be able to not necessarily turn the tide against this darksider, but not like let this darksider have a clean and easy escape. We know that eventually it'll tumble and crash in some asteroid like belt, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that starts off here with at the end of the episode of Soul continuing on after surviving this massacre of sorts. But yeah, outside of that, really Osha's out of the picture. She was force flicked away pretty easily. Mae is hidden in Kelnaka's hut, And I think we've seen some promos of her kind of fighting off Jecki, like with a knife at her throat and all that. She's the one that I'm very unsure about what she's going to do. Is she going to be almost like force compelled, force coerced by the Sith to finish this final lesson, to like make the kill, to prove her worthiness? Is she gonna lie to him about turning? Is she gonna like try to play it off or something? Are we gonna see Osha's perspective of the events and see Osha try to stop her? Are we gonna see the Sith having flicked away Osha, or the Darksider, whoever it is, having done so and be revealed to have done that because they want to then collect Osha and just see if Mae is gonna be a worthwhile piece to keep around? If not, kill her off here too. Like there's a lot of potential here. I don't think the twins necessarily die, but I do think Osha might swap places with Mae, with this Sith Lord, with this Darksider in terms of priority. So I expect a lot of like the dialogue to be really focused on the twins here and the Sith in between the moments that he's murdering everyone else or after he's murdered everyone but Soul. I really do think this is going to be crazy action. I really do think there's going to be some awesome dueling. It's going to be tragic. I think it's going to be the most weighty, the most meaty episode that we've gotten. Is it going to be 40 minutes? I don't think so, but I hope it touches as close as possible.
That's a big question, too, because we haven't had a single episode over 40 minutes so far with the Acolyte. The last episode, 26 and a half minutes. So we're not getting close to the 40-minute mark on a lot of these episodes. And I think that plays a lot into our predictions. What could happen in this episode? If it's an action-based episode, then we could have room for fighting and story. If it's just a story-based episode, there's a lot of things that need to happen to propel this narrative forward, a lot of repercussions that should happen from decisions made in the previous episodes. But as we know from the show's track record, they haven't really gone into repercussions for anything so far. So we'll see what they decide to do. I do think the episode starts with the fight. I think that's going to be for sure. I think this Darksider is going to take down most of the nameless Jedi. They are going to all die. We're going to see something like Jecki dual wheeling her and Soul and Yorde all trying to stave off this attack. I want to see Soul go toe to toe with the Darksider. I would like to see his power. We've only seen him dodging really so far. He hasn't done any actual fighting. So I want to see him actually going hand to hand with a dark side user and see how that messes with his mind. As for Mae and Osha, I feel like there's something in this episode that's going to kind of set up whatever is next for their story. We know that we're going to get the reveal, we thinking about episode 7, because the director directed episode 3, is directing episode 7. So that seems about the time when we'll get the reveal about what happened with the fire. But I think as we build towards that, there's got to be some reconciliation with this relationship between Osha and Mae, something to get us a bit more attached to these characters before we reveal the, oh no, look what the Jedi did side of the fire, right? So I think part of that journey starts here. In my opinion, I think that Osha, Mae, and the Darksider will all go off by the end of this episode. I think he's basically going to kind of take both of them. Now, whether it's in self-sacrifice, I think that's kind of the more likely angle. Maybe Mae sacrificing herself, standing up to this Darksider to protect Osha. Osha doing so more to protect the Jedi. And I think that's going to kind of lead these two back onto the same path. We need scenes with both of them. Their story is pretty weak right now. We don't really know anything about why they care about each other than one flashback episode. And for me, one of my biggest criticisms with last episode is that Mae's turn comes out of absolutely nowhere. I need to see why she cares about her sister so much. We did not see that in that flashback. In fact, she wants to kill her in the flashback. So I want to see why the change of heart. Why does she care so much about Osha? Why does Osha being alive change everything for her? I think this episode doesn't necessarily tackle those things, but I think it starts us towards that direction. Like if those three go off and they're kind of the distraction, right? Maybe this Darksider's like, okay, I can let some of these Jedi get stuck here in the forest, but I'm going to take these two because they're a part of my secret experiments with these witches, and I'm going to see what I can get out of them that the witches never got out of them. I think that might be a good enough distraction for Soul Yorde and Jecki to escape. Now that does obviously come in contact with the whole idea that these characters now cannot live if this is indeed a Sith, especially, but really they shouldn't live no matter what, since they've seen a red lightsaber. They shouldn't live. And what does that mean for keeping up with the rest of the group, right? We know Vernestra's not going to talk to the council because she says, oh, it's going to get too political, which I don't necessarily know if that should be true at this time, but that's the angle they're taking. We know Vernestra comes to a forest planet because we see that here. That means that some of the Jedi either have to survive or they all die, and that she's looking for them. I do think they're going to kind of call her in a distress beacon kind of way at the end of this episode. Maybe their ship is damaged or destroyed. They cannot escape. And I do think it will be the face characters. I feel like Yorde right now is just too much of an asshole to die at this point. I think there needs to be a little bit more redeeming for him. Or if he does die, it's going to be saving somebody like Osha. It's going to be a self-sacrificing way because he hasn't done anything that's not selfish or by the book at this point. So Yorde is the one I think is more likely to die in this episode. Jecki, I don't see it at all in this episode. I think they will save Jecki for the end of the show if she dies, or season 2 if that ever happens. And then Soul will not die in this episode. I don't see any way in which Soul dies. I think he is the heart and soul of the show, and we can't kill him off before that conversation between him and Osha, because whatever that reveal is, there needs to be some consequence to it. We need to see that on the characters' faces. We can't just have it be a distant memory of, oh, I can't believe Soul did that, and now we never get his perspective on it. It needs to be something that we see in this show. So you cannot kill him off until after that is revealed, and I don't think they will do it here. But I expect some cool action. I expect some violent action, and I expect hopefully some horror angles, because I did like the floating thing, like Count Dooku in Clone Wars 03. Like, that was an interesting touch, and I want to see if we get closer to maybe the reveal of who this darksider is. I don't think it will be this episode, but I do think in the next episode. And if it is Khmer, then it will be a kind of a disappointing, flat, like very obvious reveal. But maybe if it is that obvious and it is Khmer, they just do it in this episode, like the whole twin angle where they are like, we're not even going to try to string this out across more than one episode. We're just going to reveal it to you in the first episode. The mystery is now over. And that's where like the disappointing aspects of the show structure, the things that are harder to comprehend about why they're just setting up certain things in this order, that plays a role in like what happens in this episode, because certain things that could defy the logic of telling an interesting thriller might actually happen in the show because of the precedent of things they set in the past. So we'll see what happens. Let us know your predictions and speculation in the comment below. We will get back to you on our thoughts on your predictions. And if you want to join us live to talk about your predictions for episode 6 and talk about episode 5 when it comes out, join us Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. Pacific time. We will go live right after the episodes air. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we will see you all next time.